Before you go any further, look below and click the subscribe button.
Hello, it's Melissa with Savvy Business Podcast, and we are on again with Dr. Elizabeth Carter and a couple of her co-authors from Letters to My Corporate Sisters. You've previously heard some other ladies talk about their chapters and their journeys, and we have two more ladies that is joining the conversation. So we're going to go around the room, have them to briefly introduce themselves, and we're going to jump right into it. So thank you, ladies, for coming on, joining, and as always, Dr. E, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Melissa. I will kick this off. I am Elizabeth Dr. E. Carter, PhD, your corporate elevation strategist. A little bit about me. I have been working in corporate America for over 25 years, and it has not been without a struggle every step of the way, from being an individual contributor, trying to figure out what I had to do to be promoted, to being just a manager, and going above and beyond, in my opinion, to be able to get there. That continued on to me becoming a director, and now I am a vice president in my organization. So excited to be able to show other women that it is possible. We do need to understand how to overcome barriers, but we do need to be prepared for any situation that comes upon us that we may or may not be ready for. And the great thing about this book, Letters to My Corporate Sisters, Stories of Endurance, Elevation, and Encouragement, is that these ladies who are so excited said yes to the opportunity, share their journey, share resources, share tools to enable those coming behind us to move a little bit faster than we did and with a little less stress. We know we can't alleviate it all, but we are trying because there is clearly a need for more women in leadership. So I thank you, Melissa, for this conversation and for the ladies joining us in this podcast.
Thank you so much. Miss Pam, let me have you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Dr. Pam Straker, and I actually am a psychologist. And my experiences that I'd like to share for Dr. E's presentation and book, etc., really come out of my experiences in the not-for-profit world. I thank Dr. E for including me in this, because knowing that I came out of not-for-profit, she might have thought that it was easy in that lane. Becoming a leader in that lane has some real challenges. And for women of color, we usually get the the jobs that require a lot of work, but not necessarily those that enable high reward. The rest of my background is that while working, I became a caregiver for 3 different family members. And I think it is critically important to include the stresses that come from outside of the workplace in describing what you go through, being a leader either within the for-profit or not-for-profit world. So thank you, Dr. E. And I hand the mic over.
Thank you so much. Willie Mae.
Thank you. My name is Willie Mae Star White, and I am a motivational speaker. I am currently a office services facilities manager with a law firm, and I have been there for 13 years now, being the sole person of color. And it has truly been challenging. After getting repeated evaluations of being too mean, just not having enough tact and not being professional, just going through all that, but actually utilizing the benefits that was in front of me. A lot of people do not utilize their benefits. And after having a mental breakdown at work, oh yes, I was definitely able to utilize my benefits at work, become very successful, learn through Toastmasters with public speaking to speak professionally, speak with more tact and to get my point across. And with all of that, one of the things that I want to tell my corporate sisters is that success starts with mental health. And a lot of people do not understand that, but my chapter will explain it in detail. Thank you. It is a pleasure to be here.
How many times have you gone store to store looking for the perfect party accessories and could never find that perfect design? So you had to settle for what you could find. Look no further. Party Elements has the perfect party decor for any occasion. From cupcake toppers, candy buffet themes, plate settings with the option of custom plates, wine glasses, custom pins, greeting cards, and so much more. Get your custom or ready-made party accessories for any occasion from Party Elements. At Party Elements, entertaining has never been so stylish. Reach out to Party Elements at partyelements.net or Etsy at Party Elements by SD.
Thank you so much, ladies, for that introduction. Now, this is for both of you, so whoever wants to go first, is why was it so important when Dr. E made that call and told you what her project was about and what she wanted to do? Why was it so important for you to say yes and jump right in?
Well, I'll go first. Dr. E, first of all, is an extremely talented woman whom I've known over the years as she met the challenges that she had to meet in her context. And I feel that for women who are going through the types of things that we've gone through, often you don't have others who are sharing their stories. And so given that opportunity, I felt I had to jump in, both because of my respect for Dr. E and because I feel that this is a very important project.
Thank you. I completely agree, Pam. It was such a great opportunity. When I first met Dr. E, I was just astounded by her energy, by her professionalism, by her eagerness. And I was like, oh, she matches my energy. I believe in learning. I believe in educating. Even with me going through all the companies I have worked for and being that sole person of color, but learning how to adapt when you have a lot of people repeatedly telling you the same thing. Maybe there is a problem. And when you see another successful woman in that same field and she's successful, you have to wonder, maybe there is another way. Thank you.
Absolutely. And before we get too deep into it, let's touch on this mental health. A lot of times, and especially with women, and I'm not singling anyone out, so please, nobody don't come for me. But when we're really talking about women, we forget your mom, your wife, your you work in a day job, you have a night job because of the kids, the house, all of these different things, extracurricular activities for the kids, traveling, husband, all of these things that's going on. And then you also going to work where people are looking at you and they're pulling at you for certain things, even though you may or may not get the recognition, you're still pulled at for all of these things. And then when you go home, you got the tug of mommy, honey, wife, all of these different things. And how many times do we really, grab and reach out to our sisters in support and say, you know what, you rest, let me help. How important is that with mental health for as other corporate sisters to reach back, grab their hand and say, hey, let me help, or hey, take a moment, let's rest. How many times, are we in those positions, and how important is it for that to happen?
Who you surround yourself with really does matter. The people you associate with and spend time with have a huge impact on who you become and what you do in your life. Hi, my name is Jeff Hagee, and I want to tell you about my Inner Circle Mastermind group. This is a group that's designed to surround you with like-minded high achievers who will help you to think bigger and amplify the performance of your business and your life while tearing down all the barriers that are holding you back. A mastermind is the fastest way to get you to the next level. If you're ready to network and connect with other successful entrepreneurs and influencers, go to coachhagee.com/mastermind.
Well, I'm gonna hand it over to my mate here and let her do her thing. And then I have a few things to say.
Yes, no. You know what? I believe that all of us have been through past or present traumas. And a trauma can be anything. A trauma could be a death in a family. And just like you said, Melissa, trauma could be losing your home and going home and having so many kids, and you're trying to balance your life, but you may be going through a bankruptcy. You may be going through a foreclosure. There are so many traumas that we go through on a daily basis, and we don't get help for it because we believe that it's a sign of weakness. We have been taught that it's a sign of weakness. But I am here to tell you that it is not. When you, and even if you want to word it different, you don't want to ask for help. Maybe you just want to ask for assistance. Either way, asking for that help, it means so much, especially when you have it corporate sisters, especially when you have the benefits right in front of you. And some of them are free.
Well, I'm going to say a couple of words about that. First, I believe you have to know you need help. We have been so conditioned to take on everything that often we are feeling overwhelmed and burdened, and we don't even recognize it. We don't see that it is manifesting itself in many ways throughout our lives. So there are those of us who become ill. Many of us develop hypertension at certain points in our lives. And I want to put in a plug for those of us who don't have children, because for those of us who don't have children, we're being pulled on by everybody because, well, of course you have time, you don't have a family. So therefore you have time to do this and you don't need that, and et cetera, et cetera. And I've got to share with you that the pull is there, regardless of whether you have a traditional family or not. And in my case, I did not have children, but I had other people's children that I was concerned about. That's number one. Yep. And I felt as if it was my responsibility to make sure that they were successful and that I contributed fully as if they were my children. So that was there. And then for those of us who've gone through it and maybe have had the experience of the sandwich experience, where parents maybe are developing difficulties at the same time that you're climbing in your responsibility at work, at the same time that things may be happening to you. And I keep coming back to the physical, because for many women, when you are reaching that kind of pinnacle or the peak at your position of leadership, you're also reaching certain realities with respect to your body. And we have got to pay attention to really know, we're under a lot of stress. We have to give ourselves permission, and hopefully with the help of those who've gone before us, take care of ourselves.
What have you learned?
I'm sorry, Melissa, just one more
No, go ahead.
comment to what they've just said. I think this notion about the mental health is so new that we are finally bringing it to the forefront. It's now part of the news. Now, of course, many corporations are focused in on additional benefits that will allow us to recognize the stress that are in the workplace. I know talking about being, our health. I mean, right now I'm on cholesterol pills, blood pressure pills, baby aspirin, and some of that is hereditary, but some of that is escalated from the fact that we all are trying to do so well. The additional pressures of the glass ceiling, if you will, and there's even now a cement ceiling and concrete ceiling pertaining to sometimes we're trying to break our way through and can't even see the destination. And that really starts to bear a lot on us individually. And sometimes we do sacrifice family or work or our ultimate destination in our career. So it is very important for us to understand and recognize we may need to ask for assistance. We won't call it help, assistance. And then knowing how to not feel bad about asking, because we really do need it for our own livelihood and ultimately for our own life and survival. So that's my comment about the mental health. Thanks.
Wow, absolutely. I love how we always hear about the glass ceiling and how we could see through it and it's breaking through the glass ceiling, but to say that concrete ceiling, that is, so relevant that, we feel that we're at the top, we can't see through it, we can't break through it, regardless of how much we're pounding and just doing everything that we can. Even sometimes we go back and say, you know what, let me go learn something different. And maybe that's what I need to try to break through, and we still can't break through. So using that analogy of a concrete ceiling is so powerful to resemble how we're trying and struggling so hard to just get through that ceiling and, constantly climb to the top. So thank you for that. Also, when, you ladies were, writing your chapters and, you sat down and got in the space that you need to get in to just start writing. As you were writing the chapters, was there some type of experience that, you learned throughout your writing that you apply to your daily life now that you didn't do prior to writing your chapter?
Well, I'm going to say that for me, one of the pointers that I suggested in my chapter was that when you meet people, and they show you who they are, believe it. So, for me, I was raised to believe that everybody is good, and if they're not good, they can change. So they're either good or evil. If they're evil, you're running away from them. But sometimes people show themselves to be good, but not necessarily what you need in your life at a particular time, and perhaps not presenting the information that you need in the way that you need it. So for me, I can say that now I embrace meeting people, but I accept who they might be, and to what extent I might be able to work with them in a way that I did differently when I was younger. So I think that's the biggest, one of the biggest. The second is something that we've already talked about, and that is self-care. Really, it comes before everything. It really comes before everything, because without a whole mental health environment or a whole health environment, you can't go forward. And so I have learned that if I am feeling a certain level of stress, I must back off. I must take time for myself. It is so important that I will stop an activity or back out of an activity if I feel it giving me a certain sense of stress. So I think that for me, I've learned.
I think you're muted.
I have.
Okay.
Through all of my studying and all of the research that I have gathered when I was putting my chapter together, it's just amazing to me how mental health has really deteriorated in our young people. And I have been tracking this with the CDC through mental health with them reaching out for help, especially during COVID with the isolation and with the quarantine. A lot of them really couldn't handle the isolation that they bared. Now, some of them focused on playing their games, which until I believe led to another problem. But more importantly, a lot of them didn't realize that they had mental health issues, that they had post-traumatic stress, that they were having suicidal thoughts. I still have yet for the CDC to release the 2022 mental health statistics, because from 20 to 2021, our young people have been screaming for help. Now, what I mean by screaming for help is we are seeing more and more of them complete assessments online with mental health websites. We have seen young people getting on their websites with their companies at work, reaching out to HR to get help on the employee assistance programs, to get help on mental health programs. So this is what I have discovered, is that our young people is screaming for help. But I'm also noticing that our older generation will not
I'm so
seek
glad
help.
you said it, because I was going to tell you that our young people are screaming for help and have been for a very long period of time. But the generation before them was screaming for help. So many people had a hard time through this period of COVID. COVID was a killer, not only in terms of people actually dying, but just not being able to cope with, as you say, the isolation, but also the differences in choice that you had. People were separated from their families, so that affected the entire spectrum of folks. And it was scary, and we're not prepared to deal with it. So one of the reasons that you're not seeing the stats come out actively is that the health world does not really know what to do. And part of that, not to be negative about anybody trying to get options in place, but years ago, I can tell you in New York, those who were in charge gave up the whole field of mental health to managed care. So, when you see people who are suffering with long-term mental health issues, and the suggestion is that, they can be cured in 10 sessions, we need to think that kind of thing through. And so your focus on mental health is really aptly placed, but we must focus also on those who are making the rules, because it's not the people who are delivering the service who are making the rules. So I'm going to hesitate to even go down this path, because I could speak for hours on the experiences of people I now know who are doing treatment and the types of hurdles they have to jump through to provide care for their patients.
Wow. It's a very important topic that so many don't touch, because like you said, we've been groomed to not ask for help. We've been groomed to keep it to yourself, suck it up, all of these things that we've been taught, and it has taken a toll on a lot of people, and we're seeing it in the numbers that it's affecting. So, in this book, Letters to My Corporate Sister, what advice would you have to the next generation, maybe even this generation, I wouldn't say the next generation, this generation of, shifting your mindset, not giving up? What advice would you have for them that's running into that concrete ceiling.
Do you want to be known as the subject matter expert in your industry? Scan the QR code today to take advantage of the $200 discount for a brand assessment. The assessment will give you a summary of how your brand can step up a notch to get noticed. We have been seen in various platforms and have gained credibility and are known as the subject matter expert for digital media and branding. Sign up today for a brand assessment and a one-on-one consultation with me, Melissa Ambers. Don't get left behind. It's time for your brand to stand out.
I'll start, and just to comment on the last question. As I was writing my chapter, I was thinking, of course, reflecting on the period in which I was laid off and really had to rethink my strategy. And I say in my speaking, I was trying to elevate. Only thing elevated was my cholesterol, my weight, and my blood pressure. And it really is about, how do we acknowledge the clues? We sometimes ignore the clues, both physically and mentally and psychologically, because we are so incensed on wanting to move up and do well in the organization. So what I say to my corporate sisters is, don't ignore anything that you're seeing in the workplace, that you're hearing in the workplace, and then subsequently what your body is telling you, because it all works together. If you're in an environment that you don't feel welcomed or recognized or acknowledged, your body will tell you that. And we will ignore that. We'll ignore the headaches. We'll ignore our blood pressure numbers because we think, oh, well, it'll pass, it'll get over it, oh, things will change. But you have to change yourself first. The environment will not change as quickly as you were able to, because we are very nimble, we are resilient, we can shift, but we just have to realize and be brave if we need to make a move, which may need to be beyond where we are today, may even need to be outside of the organization. But we have to take that leap, because that will free us from what we're feeling today and allow us to feel utilized, feel that we are vocal, visible, and valued, what I talk about all the time. And if we're not feeling that way today, my sisters, please go ahead and work a plan to shift as quickly as possible. That is my comment to my sisters.
I'd like to just say that I think one of the ways in which we can help ourselves, especially when we are at I think at every level of our development professionally, is to ensure that we have mentors for different areas of your life. One mentor may help you professionally. You may choose someone who you use as a therapist. You may have someone who has knowledge about some other aspect or area of your life. And you need to really talk to these people, because they will be able to share with you the real deal. And I think we don't do enough of that. Another thing that we have been trained to do is to do it all on our own. You can't. It's really impossible. I can remember when I was in the middle of dealing with a very intense work environment, and my father's health was failing. My mom hadn't quite gotten to the point where she accepted it. And I had to reach out to a mentor of mine and say, I really just don't know what to do here. I am feeling so overwhelmed. I'm just feeling like I don't know in what direction to go. And she was open to that. She listened to me. This is not someone I speak to regularly, but we actually set up a time, and she listened to everything I was going through. And then she made a suggestion. And her suggestion was, talk to women, talk to other women who may or may not be going through what you're going through, but reach out to them, continue to do what you did in reaching out to me. And this will help you to really manage some of the situations better. So I would say that asking for help is first recognizing that you need it, and then second, reaching out to sources you consider to be safe. And I think that that's one of the best practices we can all get into.
One of the things that I recommend is also using all of our resources. We have our medical, we have our dental, we have our eye care, but we also have our mental health care. And we are living in very perilous times where we are getting students shot repeatedly. We are getting kids abducted, and don't think it do not affect the mental health of people around you, the students. So what I am saying and suggesting is that you utilize your benefits to the best of your ability, not only for you, but for your family as well. For your young ones, please, some of them really need counseling for what's going on around the world, in their local environment, on the news. Utilize your benefits. Thank you.
You want to be known as the subject matter expert in your industry? Scan the QR code today to take advantage of the $200 discount for a brand assessment. The assessment will give you a summary of how your brand can step up a notch to get noticed. We have been seen in various platforms and have gained credibility and are known as the subject matter expert for digital media and branding. Sign up today for a brand assessment and a one-on-one consultation with me, Melissa Ambers. Don't get left behind. It's time for your brand to stand out.
Yes, ma'am. In this, and also letters to your corporate sisters, bringing together a group of corporate sisters with many years of experience and growth, lessons learned, all of these different things throughout your journey. How important would you say to your corporate sisters on professional development as they are climbing that ladder? Anyone?
I have learned that you get more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. In the position that I am currently in, I am working with building administrators. I am working with engineers. I am working with high profile attorneys. And not one time do I hold my head down. I have learned to be able to be in a professional environment and look people straight in the eye and have courage due to all of the educational programs, including Toastmasters International. One of the things, my corporate sisters, that you have to do, I have had so many people tell me that they feel like they don't belong and, they feel like they can't talk to people, but you belong. And the only thing you have to do is educate yourself. Listen to those reviews. Take some of their advice. Find out about some of the behaviors that you may be exhibiting. One of the things that I have learned throughout my corporate career is that I needed to have more tact. I needed to be more professional. And I needed to be more educational in order for me to move forward and advance in my career. Sometimes we get so caught up in our past angers and behaviors that we are taught. And what I mean is I was taught not to smile. I was taught not to grin, not to show so much teeth because it shows that you're weak. You don't want to show anyone that you're too happy. I'm a happy person. I want to smile every single day. And that do not mean that I'm weak. But at the same time, I knew that I wasn't speaking correctly, that I was cutting off my words. I wasn't pronunciating words correctly. And maybe it was because I stuttered for 38 years, but that's not an excuse. You have to take on those challenges. And it wasn't until I educated myself that I found the courage to work in a corporate environment, despite I was the only person of color. Thank you.
Well, I would like to say about that, choose your battles. And that I learned early on, that, we're going to confront so many things that we feel are unjust, should not happen this way, etc. Choose your battles. Decide what your goals are. Work toward those goals. You cannot correct the ship all by yourself, but you can make sure that you keep your goals in front of you and that you focus on those things that will make those goals come true. The other thing that I really ask people to focus on is to be realistic. If you see that the cement above you is drying, that there's not even a chance that you could make a difference in turning it to glass, then maybe that's not the place you remain. I believe one of the things that I did have the benefit of is a dad who did his own business for all of my life. And so one of the things he always said was, always develop a way that you're keeping some aspect of what you're doing more under your control than under the control of others. So that means that you can work for those folks with that cement ceiling that you're trying to chip away at, but you always have your own business on the side. And that is something that I think more of us, the young people, I see embracing it, and I'm so happy for that, because it does give you more options. And it's something that we need to explore. The other thing I just like to make a comment about, as I mentioned earlier, I am a caregiver. And one of the things I am talking with people who are in the position of being, developing income, this, that, and the other, is that, are you finding a way to maintain that income, or to have your family be able to continue the legacy that you've established? I cannot tell you how many people I have met who have done absolutely nothing about estate planning. They don't have wills. Somehow we believe we're going to be here forever. And though I would love that to be so, we know that there may come a time that we need certain types of help. And if we have not established the plan for that time in our lives, and you could be as young as 24 and laying on a football field with your heart stopped. Okay. And if you have not put plans in effect for the money you're making, all of the things you're acquiring, your legacy ends with you.
Wow.
And just for me, one comment on the professional development is that you own your own development. So often we're relying on the company to provide us training and tools and information. They're only going to provide you just enough for you to get your job done adequately. In order for you to excel, be above and beyond the standard, you really have to invest in yourself. There are lots of other training programs, coaches, many people available to you. and you have to invest in yourself. You are your best return on investment. The company will only do so much, but they pay you a salary to do that. But you need to set aside those same dollars for yourself, because you never know when the company could downsize. You could lose your job for some reason. The company could go out of business, and you have to be able to flex. And having those skills that you clearly know can benefit not just your current organization, but someone else. You want to make sure you really shine those and continue to develop areas that you think you have gaps. And again, the company may not tell you that, and they may not provide you that. So always think about what you know you need and be able to find resources to give them to you, whether or not it's through your company or you investing in yourself.
Amen.
Thank you so much, ladies. So as we're coming to the close, we're going to have Dr. E to close us out. And what last words do you have for everyone that's watching this podcast?
All right, as always, buy the book. Buy the book. It is coming out March. We do our Amazon bestseller launch March 13th. After that, we will be working on securing the paperback versions. These first ladies is myself and 10 others. I thank them so much for saying yes to the onset. And as you corporate sisters are hearing these discussions and you absolutely have a story to share, would love you for the next edition. This is not a once and done. This is a movement. We have lots of stories to share. You heard today, and as you heard the other podcasts, we all come from a different lens, share a different perspective of our lives. I want to be able to continue this journey of storytelling to allow those coming behind us to not feel frustrated, not feel defeated, knowing that there is resources, knowing there have been many before you who have been there, done that, have the bruises and scars to share. I would love to have you be part of our next edition of Letters to My Corporate Sisters. Again, thank you, Melissa, for the opportunity to showcase some of my co-authors. Really appreciate everyone being transparent and sharing and providing insight and outlook to your audience.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you for the
And
opportunity.
I wish everyone success with this book and that it becomes a #1 seller and some. And definitely, on to the second edition as well. So thank you again, ladies, for coming on.
Hello, Elizabeth, Dr. E. Carter, PhD, your corporate elevation strategist and the visionary of this book, Letters to My Corporate Sisters, Stories of Endurance, Elevation, and Encouragement. You had a chance to visit with several of my co-authors of this phenomenal project. As you have heard, each one has a different perspective, a different lens, a different background, a different element of sharing what they've been through, which is what makes this journey so exciting. On behalf of Women's History Month in March, we are launching this book. Our Amazon bestseller campaign begins on March 13th. Mark your calendars. On that day, we are working to become Amazon bestsellers in our categories. I encourage you to stay abreast of what we're doing in that space and support us in those efforts. Soon after, we'll be having our paperbacks come out. And the one great thing about my opportunity is that every co-author has their own version of the book. So where here you see me on the cover, each co-author, and there were 10 others, will have a similar copy of the book versioned with their picture on the front, because I want each author to be showcased, to be celebrated and recognized. I also invite you, whether or not you are in the Pittsburgh area or not, on April 1st, we are doing a live celebration at the Left Field Meeting Space on the North Shore of Pittsburgh. On April 1st, no fooling, we are doing a networking brunch and book signing event. I have coming to town my keynote, Tiana Von Johnson, the millionaire brand strategist and coach. She will come and fill us with knowledge, not just about how to be a $1 million brand, but how to enable the confidence, the eloquence that will allow you to exude the feeling as if you are, and we are all worth more than $1 million. I will also be doing a session on how to leverage and become endured and use your endurance to leverage your next. And we will have a wonderful panel discussion with the co-authors where they will again share their thoughts, parts of their chapters, allow you to get to know them. We'll have a wonderful brunch, and you will walk away with tools that will enlighten you, empower you, encourage you as corporate sisters to keep going. Don't be discouraged. You will be able to walk into work Monday with new energy, new information, and you will soar forward in your career. I thank you again for watching these podcast episodes, showcasing my co-authors in my letters to my corporate sisters. Please stay attached to me via my website, www.eac-appeal, that's 2 A's, 2 P's, EAL.com, on the continuous journey of this elevation of this project, and looking forward to seeing you, and thank you for your support.
Follow us on our Instagram at Savvy Mag Biz and on our YouTube channel, Savvy the Business Podcast. Thank you for joining us on Savvy the Business Podcast. If you want to be a guest, send an email to media@savvymag.biz. That's media@savvymag.biz. Don't miss out on the opportunity to be heard by millions.